when they were hurt in childhood and trauma happened, that true self got covered up with this false self so that the vulnerability got protected. And over the periods of time, that false self turned into the real self. So like deep layers and layers and layers and walls and walls and walls covers the true self. Welcome to the Secret Life Podcast. Tell me your secret. I'll tell you mine. Sometimes you have to go through the darkness to reach the light. That's what I did. After 12 years of recovery in sex and love addiction, I finally found my soulmate, myself. Please join me in my novel, Secret Life of a Hollywood Sex and Love Addict, a 4-time bestseller on Amazon. It's a brutal, honest, raw, gnarly ride, but hilarious at the same time. Check it out now on Amazon. Welcome to Secret Life Podcast. I'm Brianne Davis-Gantt. Today I'm pulling back the curtains of all kinds of human secrets. We'll hear about what people are hiding from themselves or others. You know those deep, dark secrets you probably want to take to your grave? Or those lighter, funnier secrets that are just plain embarrassing? Join me each week as we take a deep dive into one subject matter, exploring the how, what, when, where, and why of it all. Get ready for a more focused, more revealing journey of the human experience. This is Secret Life, and I'm excited for you to join the ride. Today, we are talking about, dun dun dun, narcissistic fathers. Oh, those are so fun to have. And I'm not going to say I have one, but I have one. Woohoo! Hey, Dad, if you're listening. Hi. Listen, I have narcissistic tendencies, and yes, I got them from my father, and my father got them from his mother, and he's going to kill me, but okay, I'm saying it out loud. It is literally a trauma response. Narcissism is a trauma response. And I read this beautiful thing once talking about that narcissism is an adaptive trauma response. And it happens in childhood because most people become narcissists because in childhood, and it's onset, it's like a pathological infancy, adolescence defense mechanism that when they were hurt in childhood and trauma happened, that true self got covered up with this false self so that the vulnerability got protected. And over the periods of time, that false self turned into the real self. So like deep layers and layers and layers and walls and walls and walls covers the true self. So the false self, the false identity became the labeled sense of self, self-worth. And that is how the narcissist forms its identity. So to even reason with a narcissist, to get to the true self, it's almost impossible because you're like pounding through walls and walls and walls and walls of defense mechanisms, one over the other. I was working with a narcissist once, and I swear to God, it was this father. I would only get a glimmer into the true self, like get him to see reality in his real self and his real low self-esteem and taking accountability. The window of him being able to, the window of like him, the window of tolerance where he could hold the truth was literally 5 seconds. He could go, yes, I see where I was wrong. I see where my self-esteem, I see I am hurt. Yes. And when she said that, I then lashed out and said this. And yes, I am deeply hurt. And then the loop would come back. The narcissistic wall would come back up and the loop would start again. And he would go right back into the old patterns of, but I am the victim. She did this to me. I'm the one. She's the self-centered one. She's the one that hurt me. And anger. And it was insane to watch. It was such a great case study. And I was just going, wow. And then you'd work to get the walls down and the loop to stop. and it would happen again. It was 5 seconds. And it was just so fascinating. So here's the characteristics of a narcissistic father, if you have some. I work with a bunch of narcissistic men that are fathers. So this is really um, fascinating always for me doing these types of episodes and being raised by a narcissistic father that made it very much about him and what he needs and what he wants. And when you have a narcissistic father and there's emotional incest involved where your energy goes to the father, like, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? From the child, I find this so fascinating. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Um, Father, very self-centered, very controlling, and uncaring about his children's needs unless it benefits him, unless it gives him his self-worth. So sometimes narcissistic fathers can come off caring, but it's to get his worth. Like, I do all this stuff for my children. I work so hard. I give them all this stuff. I cater to their needs, but it's to get validation, right? I work so hard. I buy them, da, 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 da. I give them all this thing, but it's for them to then say, thank you, Dad. You're the best. You're such a great provider. It's to get that validation. So everything is based on getting the validation of what he provides for his children because he sees his children as his property. They are his. They are not individuals. They are not, oh, this is my child is not really mine. I'm just here to teach life lessons and this child will go off into the world. No, no, that's an extension of him. So if they don't cater to what he wants, what he needs, what he desires for them to be, they are usually shunned. And it's all about self-centered, what he wants. And he is very controlling over those things. A lot of narcissistic fathers are very OCD about their needs. So here are some signs. They are very vain and demanding perfectionism. And people always think perfectionism, like sometimes they're messy. Like, and I'm like, no, no. Perfectionism doesn't mean they can't be messy. They're perfectionism in the way they are controlling. You have to do it this way, my way. If you don't do it, like, if you don't do it, great. Somebody used this when he was practicing basketball. He said that his dad would say, I'll give you a thumbs up if you're doing good, but if you get a thumbs down, that means you're a pussy. And it was like, oh my God, that is the worst thing to say to a young kid. Like, so we'd just sit there and give him thumbs down, pretty much calling his son, like his 10-year-old, 11-year-old son, a pussy. And I was like, oh my God, that is so damaging to your child. So he demands perfectionism and he'll pretty much tell you and demean you and make you feel like a piece of shit if you don't do it how he thinks you should do it perfectly. Not that a kid is trying to learn and you're not supposed to like bash them while they're learning. He gets angry quickly. They don't know how to emotionally regulate at all. At all. They have almost the emotional regulation of a toddler. They're belittling, like I said, they're dismissive and they're controlling of their child's actions. They shift blame onto their child instead of looking at their part or looking, hey, this is a child that is learning, doesn't know how to emotionally regulate, isn't a full adult. I'm teaching them. I have to be patient. I'm the one that's the adult and needs to emotionally regulate. They shift the blame and blame the child. And they expect their child to be a caregiver. There's another narcissistic father I was working with that is getting a divorce, and he now expects his teenage daughter, young teenage daughter, newly teenage daughter, um, to now cook for him and clean for him. And it's like, she is not your wife now, homie. Learn to clean for yourself. You are a late 50s man. You can clean and cook for yourself. You are not incapable of taking care of yourself. Your 13-year-old daughter should not be doing it for you. That is not your new wife. Gross, gross, gross. That's called emotional incest. So narcissistic fathers feel their children should actually like take care of them. It's utterly insane. So here, let's even look. How does it affect the children? Let's even look there. They later have or during the time, difficult establishing relationships with friends. They usually, when the narcissistic father, if there's a divorce, they will even detach from their friends and feel like they have to cater to the father. So the other parent really has to step in and try to regulate that and try to say, no, no, you're not responsible for your father. You need to go and live your life. That is not your job to take care of your dad. He is an adult. Don't let him emotionally torment you. You need to go out and be with your friends. They have difficult regulating emotions. They have difficult trusting and forming intimate relationships later. They can struggle academically. They have low self-esteem. They doubt themselves a lot. They self-blame. They have trouble making decisions. They can turn to people-pleasing tendencies, and they get into codependent relationships a lot of codependent relationships. So, signs, we already said some of them. They are also, here's a huge sign, they are obsessed with success, like overly obsessed with themselves being successful and their children. And they will not, if you do not reach that level of success they think you should be at, they will not support you emotionally or financially. And they will pull the financial support, especially if they're the breadwinners, they will pull that financial support from you almost immediately. That's a one thing narcissistic fathers love to do is pull that financial support because that's usually how they show, oh, I care about you. Here's money. I'll take it away. Like I said, they love making fun of you. There's a big thing with narcissistic fathers that they love to tease. You know that whole thing going on, like where uh where it's like don't make those cruel jokes anymore. They all hate that. They're like, oh, everybody's being so like PC and weak. How weak sauce is one narcissistic father loves to say. Everybody's weak sauce now. They can't handle a joke. And it's like, no, actually, your jokes are cruel and harsh, and you're very mean, and you don't see it. They will ex have anger if you show weakness in public. They don't like when you show your weakness in public. So if you are a child that can't keep it together in public, which you should be able to do, they will get so angry because they don't want their children to be shown as weak in public. He then also at times will only reach out even to his young children to bolster himself, to fill himself. The narcissistic father, if they are feeling insecure, they will turn to their children to give them that emotional support. Like call and be like, "Hi, give your dad attention. Why aren't you hanging out with me?" Especially if it's a divorced family, he will call constantly to the children to give him that need. And lastly, they love, oh my God, they love to get compliments in public or like in public or give you compliments in public so they can look good because they love to look good in public and look like the best father ever. But really, they neglect their child's needs and they have no tolerance for their children to have their own opinion. They resent the needs of the children. They get very aloof in situations that require more than just what they're supposed to give. They feel threatened by when their children start setting boundaries or they start getting into an age where they have their own life or moving into even their own sexuality. And they can be very, narcissistic fathers can be very charismatic to strangers, but very cruel, condescending, and aloof to their own fucking children. Listen to me. That's insane. I need you to actually hear me. If you have a narcissistic father, or think you do, or married to a narcissist, or divorced from a narcissist, think about it. Is that person very outgoing, gregarious, charismatic in public to strangers? But when they're around their children, they're aloof, cruel, and condescending and will like withhold. Because when real intimacy happens, they cannot show up for it. And with a child, you have to show up as your authentic, unconditional love self. And they don't know how to fucking do it because It's incapable. Their facade, all those layers, their false self can't hold it. It's not real. So here's what happens. How do you handle being with a narcissistic father? How do you handle it? And what are the traits that you don't actually always see? Like there are some traits that you don't expect to see. Okay, here we they don't understand other people's feelings. They think they're better than others, even though they have low esteems. They can be very strict, but at other times can be like, whatever, do what you want, because then they don't care. Like they will not pay attention to you. They trick others into benefiting themselves. They must always have things their way. They use people for their own needs. They can't handle criticism at all, but they criticize others so much. They are charming, but it's not genuine. And they always feel like they deserve special treatment. So, how do you handle these types of fathers? Let's look at it. Have your children, or if you are a child, set and fucking hold personal boundaries, even if it pisses them off. Set boundaries, have hard boundaries. Do not move from them because narcissistic fathers hate boundaries, but that's the only way to hold the line. Do not feed into their manipulation. They will come at you every which way, sideways, up, down, left, right. They will come at you. Prioritize yourself. Take care of yourself. Always go self-preservation. How do I take care of myself? Not him. How do I take care of me? Yes, he is my father, but how do I take care of me? I'm number one. Know when to distance yourself. I took 2 years off of talking to my dad to really find myself, hold myself, and then know what my boundaries are so I could let him back in my life in little spurts, little moments. And then I know when I talk to him to get off the phone or how long I see him when I go and visit. Have realistic expectations. See, this one is hard. Even when I put out the book, um, and my dad read it and he said he loved it, and I was like, it filled my heart with so much joy. And then literally within an hour, he called back and started giving me all these criticisms and how I did it wrong. And it was devastating. It was fucking devastating. And that was after like 13 years of hard therapy, hard work, recovery. I was devastated. It was like someone took a knife and stabbed me in the heart. And it was like the little girl was like, I cried for days. And even though I knew, but it was like I opened myself up and I was like, I know better, but it still fucking hurts. And still to this day, there's moments he still hurts me and I have to go, okay, it is what it is. Like, breathe through it. It is what it is, like this is what it is. This is my journey. And allow yourself to feel the pain. But every time I go into it, it's like I have realistic expectations. Validate your truth. Tell, like, I'm allowed to have these feelings. I'm allowed to feel this way. This is not okay. Even run it by your therapist. Run it by someone you trust. Run it by someone that also deals with a parent like this. Have a community. I have people I talk to. Practice improving your communication. No means no. Practice your communication with a person. That's why, for my clients, I tell them, I'm the person you get to practice no with. You can say anything to me and I will hold that safe space. I am a person you can say, practice your boundaries, practice saying what you need to say, see how it works when it comes out of your body and all those things. And know when to get help. Know when to seek a professional, get therapy, work on your father wound, which I'll do a whole episode about, because this is deep. This is so deep. And this is not going to magically go away. This is like a huge, because the thing about narcissistic fathers, they know how to hurt and they know how to fucking hurt bad because they're your parent and know like what bothers you and upsets you, so they know exactly what to say, and withholding their love is so fucking painful. So be gentle with yourself. Tell yourself, and you're gonna have to reparent yourself, and it is painful, but you need to go get support. You need to go get therapy. You need to do trauma work. You need to do father wound work. And, maybe even go to like a 12-step program, ACA. That's really helps a lot of people. So you are not alone. So many people have narcissistic fathers. Thank you for listening to this episode of Secret Life. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Send me your topics. Send them to secretlifepodcast@icloud.com. Until next time. Thanks again for listening to the show. Please subscribe, rate, share, or send me a note at secretlifepodcast.com. And if you'd like to check out my book, head over to secretlifenovel.com or Amazon to pick up a copy for yourself or someone you love. Thanks again. See you soon.